breaking news, George Santos forged his signature on a campaign finance filing last night. Santos' campaign treasurer quit, so he needs a new one. He tried to hire veteran campaign treasurer Datweiler, but Datweiler rejected it. So Santos made this federal filing naming Datweiler as the treasurer and signed Datweiler's name to it. This wasn't years ago. This wasn't back in Brazil. This was yesterday. Santos is still lying criminally. He needs to be prosecuted immediately.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here with Talk About It Tuesday on Conversations with Taz. Sorry, I've been gone the past couple of days. This Tyre Nichols case is hitting very hard and slightly under the weather still. Before we jump back into George Santos, regarding the Tyre Nichols case, there are two updates I do want to give you at the top of the hour. Both will be coming from WREG.com. 6th officer in Tyre Nichols confrontation relieved of duty. Interesting how they refer to it as a confrontation. DA's office, in no way is this investigation over. Memphis police say Officer Preston Hemphill has been relieved of duty for his involvement in the confrontation with Tyre Nichols. Hemphill, hired in 2018, is the 6th officer implicated in the fatal beating of Nichols. 5 other officers were fired and have been charged with second-degree murder. According to MPD, Hemphill has been relieved of duty since the beginning of the investigation. He has not, at this point, been charged with anything. And 7th officer in Tyre Nichols' case relieved of duty. Memphis police say a 7th officer was relieved of duty for his involvement in the confrontation, once again, confrontation with Tyre Nichols, but did not name the officer. MPD released a statement Monday with additional information about their findings in the investigation. The 7th officer has been identified and their role in the incident has not been disclosed. Has not been identified and their role in the incident has not been disclosed. Police said the unnamed 7th officer has been relieved of duty since January 8th. Why are we now hiding identities? Why are we now hiding identities? Something just does not feel right about that at all. But until there's more information, I do know and recognize that there is a tweet circulating the information regarding why this brutal murder and attack occurred is speculated in this. It has not been substantiated. So please don't go sharing it around. It is not substantiated. There's really no way to substantiate it until this investigation is completed. Moving on to George Santos. Coming from the Business Insider, George Santos' ex-boyfriend said he lived with the congressman and his wife while they were still married, but thought the couple were just friends at the time. We all used to go party together. Here are the key points. Pedro Villarva, who met Santos in 2014, said he lived with Santos' wife, unaware that the pair were married. Villarva said that he had no proof of whether or not the marriage between Santos and his wife was real. Villarva also agreed with the statement that Santos was a pathological liar. Also from the Business Insider, George Santos was married to a woman while also sending invitations to celebrate his engagement to his boyfriend, report says. Key points. Representative George Santos planned an engagement party to his boyfriend while he was married to his then wife. Santos' ex-boyfriend told the Daily Beast that the engagement never happened. Controversy has followed newly elected Santos, who has been caught lying about his background. One additional update, one caveat, George Santos is stepping down from his committee appointments via the House. He says it's because of all the controversy going on within his personal life, and he doesn't want to take away. I think he knows he's about to go to jail. Those cupcakes to the reporters over the course of last week just didn't work. But you know how it is. It's Tuesday, so we're going to rapid fire through this. And once again, the quiet part is getting yelled. Pay close attention.
A Republican election official busted, saying the quiet part out loud. Wisconsin Elections Commissioner Robert Spindle is under fire for comments he made celebrating low turnout among Black and Hispanic voters in Milwaukee during the midterm elections. In a leaked memo from Spindle to Republicans in the state, Spindle acknowledged the party's effort to get voters of color to stay home as a key factor in securing re-election for U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, who was running against Mandela Barnes, an African-American. According to the leaked memo, Spindle said, quote, "We can be especially proud of the city of Milwaukee casting 37,000 less votes than in 2018. With a major reduction happening in overwhelmingly Black and Hispanic areas. Now, Wisconsin Democrats and voting rights groups are, not surprisingly, calling for Spindle to resign, or for the Senate Majority Leader, the person who appointed Spindle to the Bipartisan Elections Commission, to remove him from that office. Democrats have also joined the fray, publicly denouncing Spindle earlier this week.
Communities of color are not stupid, and we are not desperate. In the famous words of Maya Angelou, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And I want Republicans to know that communities of color know exactly who they are, and we believe what we see.
Spindle has rejected calls for him to resign, but this controversy is just getting started.
Raise your hand if you're surprised or shocked. From coast to coast, the GOP has been gerrymandering. Nobody's stopping them. No one is correcting them. Nobody is holding them accountable. So, of course, they're going to blazingly yell the quiet part out loud. But that's not all they're doing. Let's talk about those wasted tax dollars.
Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of great ways to waste taxpayer money, including the Trump presidency where they funneled about $144 million into his properties. But what many don't discuss is the sports angle, specifically stadiums. From 1999 to 2019, taxpayers footed more than $7 billion into these projects. Some may argue, but the workers are covered au contraire. Sometimes they're paid off the books, which means no protections. Michael Leeds, a professor of economics at Temple University, would say the number of jobs it adds is smaller than a mid-sized department store. A lot of politicians as well will give you the jargon of it'll revitalize our economy. Economists Dennis Coates and Brad Humphreys would say much of the consumer spending associated with pro sports comes out of the entertainment budgets of local residents. When new franchises appear, spending on sports increases and local entertainment spending on other activities decreases. As we know, in example after example, allocating resources in the community is beneficial for all. Scott Awola, a researcher in economics, would say government spending on infrastructure increases productivity because it reduces the cost in terms of time and money of transporting goods and also helps the people. The most egregious and also recent example is Democrat New York Governor Kathy Hochul. Now, the Buffalo Bills are owned by Terry and Kim Pegula, who, by the way, have a daughter named Jessica Pegula, who is awesome in tennis. So the Bills are getting a new $1.4 billion stadium, and it's being footed by a majority from the taxpayers, not, an ultra-wealthy fracking family. The Pegulas worth $5.8 billion. And Hochul called it a great deal, a hell of a deal, even though taxpayers are footing $850 million to the Bills' new stadium. Victor Matheson, a professor of economics and accounting at Holy Cross, would say he is not exaggerating that this is one of the worst stadium deals he's ever seen. And by the way, it's a record setter. This is the largest taxpayer contribution ever for a pro football facility. And it's not just the NFL. DC United plays at Audi Field. The owners, they're billionaires, but the taxpayers, they'd contribute $150 million. I mean, remember when Detroit filed for bankruptcy? Well, Little Caesars Arena would be constructed where the Pistons and Red Wings would play. To construct it, taxpayers would foot $650 million, with former Governor Rick Snyder of the Tea Party saying, "Yep, I'm approving it." That being said, the late Mike Ilitch, owner of the Red Wings, $4 billion net worth. Tom Gores, owner of the Pistons, covered him previously. His net worth, $6 billion. Politicians also feel they have to do this because teams always threaten to move if they don't get a new facility. The Bills deal, by the way, snuck in days before a final vote. Pretty savvy. Because the only thing better for a new stadium is someone else who pays for it.
And let us not forget the money that all of these sports franchises and leagues get from the U.S. military for propaganda purposes, to ensure that, there's flag ceremonies, there's a national anthem, all that stuff. And some of you may know, because I know I've been gone for a while, this TikTok news you may have already heard, but for those that haven't, here you go.
TikTok confirms their employees have the ability to decide what goes viral. Now, while this is not a surprise to a certain demographic of people, I'm glad that we're finally admitting it. TikTok confirmed to Forbes that their employees have the ability to push videos in order to introduce celebrities or emerging creators to the TikTok community. Now, let's just go ahead and name that majority of TikTok employees are not of a certain demographic, which means that they'll be inherently biased towards what content that they push out to the TikTok community. Now, it's safe to assume that this video will not be going viral for obvious reasons, but I felt like it was important to share this information with the TikTok community. Have a great day.
So for all of you all that see your favorite creators that are non-white, and you're asking I don't understand how they don't have more followers. I don't understand how they don't have more views. Now you know. Now you know why certain accounts appear to be so protected, no matter how problematic, no matter how volatile those accounts are, they will stand because they're profitable, because they've been made profitable. So therefore, they need to keep it profitable. Kind of like how the GOP keeps bailing out Jeff Bezos, and especially Elon Musk and the Waltons, of Walmart, Sam's Club. Yeah. But here's a little nugget I think you all will find extremely interesting. Get your popcorn, get a beverage, get comfy. This is a long one. New York is speaking out on what they know and how they feel about Donald John Trump Sr.
I always find these hilarious when people on the right make claims that, we don't like Donald Trump because the media told us not to. As someone born and raised in New York City, and who was probably, shamefully enough, a lot older than you are, we hated Donald Trump before he was even a thought in American politics. But it was more of a love-hate, because at that time he was harmless. We didn't know Donald as the Bible-clutching, church-going conservative that he portrayed himself to be. We knew him as a con man. So when he was saying that he is those things, we knew it was just another con. Even though Trump was very pro-Democrat back in the day, his ultimate goal was to be president of the United States, for reasons I think we're all finding out. And he knew damn well he couldn't run as a Democrat. No self-respecting Democrat would vote for Donald Trump, especially the ones from New York City, because we knew what he was all about. And much like the semi-decent marketing genius he is, he found a market and went all in. And that's where Republican voters came into play. He knew damn well he could say everything he said to you guys and get his vote. So while you think people like me hate Donald Trump because the media told me to, you love Donald Trump because he told you that you should. You trust Donald Trump because he told you that you should. And you did. So who's more of the fool here? Donald looked at Republican voters the same way he looks at a landfill and says, I'm going to build a golf course here. He had a vision. And if I say and do and pander to these voters, they'll vote for me. Even if I'm not this church-going, religious, Bible-clutching, conservative, guy. Because none of that matters. I just have to pretend to be. I just have to say I am. I just have to get to the root of what truly angers these people and amplify that times 100. Because I am Donald Trump. I'm a good businessman. I am a marketing genius. So no, I don't hate Donald Trump because the media told me to. But keep being foolish and lying to yourself. Bye.
And this is why currently Donald Trump has put out a statement that should he be reelected to office, if he can avoid further indictments, further losses in court, and he can avoid prison, he's basically invoking a war on trans children, using all of the talking points, all of the trigger words. Now we know Donald Trump is all about the good talking point. He's not going to really act on it, except for when it comes to giving more tax cuts to his wealthy buddies or people who are wealthy that he wants to be buddies with. But that's why he does it. He's the great pretender. You really think that a conservative Christian man with all these great values would have so many affairs, pay for so many abortions, be sued so many times for racial discrimination, have so many sexual assault allegations? I mean, well, when you look at evangelicals, that seems right on par. They're just waiting for the rapture because they truly believe as long as they read a few Bible verses and they know a few commandments and they donate to the church and they show up every so often, that is just enough to get into good old heaven. Why do you think they push blanket forgiveness so often? Because the Bible does not say to blanketly forgive anybody. You are to repeat, you are to recount what you said. Do not repeat it and repent and request forgiveness. Now, tomorrow is the beginning of Black History Month. Yes, I know, before y'all come to the comment section, Black history is U.S. history, is this history, is that history, Black history 365. I get it. But there are people who came before us that fought for this month. So let's honor it and celebrate it, okay? They don't give us much anywhere around the globe. But you know how we're told to get over slavery? It's so long ago, but also told that the rebel flag is heritage, not hate. And we can't take down the Confederate rebel monuments that should have never been erected in the first place. Oh, darling, it gets deeper. Because guess what they're memorializing now?
Y'all, you can't make this up. Yesterday in Virginia, they held a Confederate funeral honoring Confederate soldiers, the literal losers of the Civil War, the people who fought to enslave Black people. In 2023, these are the same people that keep telling us to get over slavery. But y'all doing this? Whew, the double standards, the Klansplaining of it all.
So we're supposed to get over slavery, but they can mourn the end of slavery. Interesting. But that is not the only hypocrisy that's going on here lately in the news. We know it comes in bundles. It comes in waves. It's almost like a tsunami at this point. Let's take a look at West Virginia.
In West Virginia, they're going to arrest you if you take your child who is a minor to a pride parade. In West Virginia, they're going to arrest you, parents, and charge you and make you go to classes if you take your child out trick-or-treating, because that's the obvious evolution of this bill. Their definition of drag shows are defined as any event involves adult engaging in entertainment put on by quote-unquote drag artists, or people who put on clothes and makeup that amplify the appearance of gender to impersonate men or women. Any adult or parent guardian of a minor who violates subsection C of this or any entity hosting a drag show is in violation of this provision. This includes pride parades, any event. This includes Halloween. Even if you don't do drag, but you decide to dress up as a woman or a male or a costume or a character, you will be charged. CPS will be involved. If corporations are people and their money is free speech, drag performers make money by doing this. How is this not a violation of their First Amendment? Why are we not arguing that in court? The government cannot make rules in violation of our speech. ACLU, where are you?
Because even though this is a country that was founded on religious freedom, they keep trying to convince you that the United States is a Christian nation, and they keep invoking Christ and God in all of their speeches. So they don't want to bring up that First Amendment conversation, because they would have to change how they speak on the campaign trail, how they speak on Capitol Hill, how they speak in the White House, and how they explain why they vote the way that they do. Because all of these constitutionalists that want control over everyone else, they're actually going against the Constitution. They go against flag code all the time. They go against the Constitution every time they admit that their religion is why they vote the way that they do. But those aren't the only body restrictions going on. Well, restrictions regarding the body.
Oh, no, it gets much worse. So raise your hand in the comments if you remember when I reported about how Missouri wanted to stop people at the border and force them to go through pregnancy tests. They were going to use the National Guard. They were going to stop people from going out of state to get abortions. I told you about this almost exactly a year ago. Arkansas wants to do it too, but it was all put under the table because people were already upset about Roe v. Wade being turned over, so they didn't want to lose the midterms. So the Republicans just quietly put it to the side. Guess what? They're all coming back.
Our work as a pro-life movement is far from over. If a young lady can hop in a car in Fort Wayne and in an hour and a half, she can be in a place in Michigan, or in just under 3 hours, she could cross the line into Illinois and achieve what she was able to do with abortion clinics here in Indiana. The fight is far from over.
Do you know that I even had mutuals calling me a fearmonger? They said that I was rage farming. And my reply is, go ahead and unfucking follow me. I don't care. Because I lived my life in the Southern Baptist Convention churches, and I told you this would happen. Charging women with the death penalty for abortions, that's coming too. Those are already on the books. They're trying to take away a woman's right to vote. Wake the fuck up, America. They already own the Supreme Court. Why are you letting them take over school boards? Why are you letting them take over city council? Get mad. Organize. Start having weekly meetings at the library and the churches of books rather than the churches of fucking child rapists.
I told you all that there was a master plan behind the GOP putting so much money into school board elections and assemblyman elections and alderman elections. Too many politicians on every level have had their whoopsie-daisy moments talking about they don't want women in politics. They don't want women to be able to vote. Specifically Black women, because they've indoctrinated their own women into easily, conveniently, fervently voting against their own bodies, their own rights, their own better good, who consistently, shows up and shows out to protect and propel forward the collective are Black women. And think about how many women are in politics have you heard in the past 2 years talking about going back to 1776, going back to the best days. Oh no, women shouldn't be in politics. Like, ma'am, Miss Mamas, did you forget you are in politics? And I wonder what your newly established as house husbands have to say about this, because they've gotten very comfortable with being able to toss your name around. And those bank accounts are looking really good because all those backdoor deals that you all are making, y'all went from barely being afloat to now millionaires in one term. But before we get to the break in the evening, do have 2 updates regarding the 6-year-old shooter. So let's roll it.
We're following breaking news on the shooting at Rich Neck Elementary in Newport News. Moments ago, we learned Rich Neck Assistant Principal Dr. Ebony Parker has resigned. And right now, the school board is meeting to decide whether to fire the superintendent.
And this on the same day that we learned first grade teacher Abby Zwerner plans to sue after being shot by a student. Earlier today, her attorney spoke for the first time about the tragedy on January 6th.
She claims school administrators repeatedly ignored warning signs in the few hours before the gun was fired.
3 times, school administration was warned by concerned teachers and employees that the boy had a gun on him at the school.
Attorney Diane Toscano says Rich Neck school administrators had the power to prevent the 6-year-old boy from shooting his teacher, Abby Zwerner. She says 3 Rich Neck teachers and an employee raised red flags about the boy possibly having a gun in the hours leading up to the tragedy. But Toscano says those administrators, quote, could not be bothered.
They failed to act and Abby was shot.
Powerful words coming from the attorney representing Abby Zwerner. Diane Toscano says Rich Neck Elementary School administrators had numerous warnings about the 6-year-old boy before police say he shot his teacher, Abby Zwerner. She says the first came from Zwerner around 11:15 that morning.
Abby went to a school administrator to tell them that the 6-year-old had threatened to beat up another child that same day.
About an hour later, Toscano says a teacher told school officials she believed the boy put a gun in his pocket before going outside for recess.
The administrator downplayed the report from the teacher, saying, and I quote, "Well, he has little pockets."
Toscano says a different teacher told administrators a student came to her crying and said the 6-year-old boy showed him a gun and threatened to shoot him if he told anyone. Toscano says a 4th employee asked if he could search the boy almost an hour before the shooting.
He was told to wait the situation out because the school day was almost over.
Now Toscano says she plans to sue Newport News Public Schools on Zwerner's behalf. She says Zwerner is recovering, but will have lasting psychological scars.
And everyone should pay close attention to their response, because will they send a message that teachers are expendable? Their response will hover over this community and this school district for decades.
Abby Zwerner, the first grade teacher at a Newport News who was shot by her 6-year-old student, has lawyered up, and wait till you hear the details. They are almost unbelievable. So this is Abby Zwerner's lawyer that she hired, who gave a statement yesterday saying that 4 separate times on the day of the shooting, administration was warned that the boy had a weapon and did nothing to stop it. It started at 11:15 that morning when Abby herself went to administration and said that she had heard a rumor that the boy had a weapon on him. Administration did nothing. A little over an hour later at 12:30, another teacher went to administration and said that they had searched his book bag and did not find the weapon, but felt confident that the boy had put it in his pocket and then had gone out for recess. The administration, what did they do? Did they go check? No. They said he has pretty little pockets. Like, what a stupid thought that this kid could have put the weapon in his pants pocket. So what did the administration do with this information? Nothing. Then at 1 p.m., another teacher comes in saying that one of her students is in tears because at recess, the shooter showed the child the weapon. And then said, if you tell anyone, I'll shoot you. What did administration do with this information? Nothing. And then to top it off, another teacher went to administration and said, let me search him. Let me check his bag. I'll search his person. Let's get to the bottom of this. What did administration do? They told him to wait it out because it was almost the end of the day. Less than an hour later, Abby is shot. Now, listen, I know the parents, we still need to deal with them and the gun control, and I get it. Police are still investigating that portion, so there's not really much for me to say. But what we do know now is what we know about administration. And I honestly cannot remember a time I felt more disgusted with a group of people. Like they let this happen. I don't know what else to say. What do you guys think?
Before we go to break real quick, just a quick thought, just a quick reminder. I know we have been conditioned and we force ourselves to believe that schools are meant to educate children. Schools actually just prepare children for an assembly line mentality. How to be prepared to get up, sit someplace quietly, take instruction, be rewarded minimally, and be convinced that the harder they work, the better that they will be, regardless of proper pay, proper rewards, or anything. We also have to remember the school to prison pipeline. They don't care about these children. They put resource officers in the schools instead of actually protecting them against school shootings, against school violence. They invoke dress codes on young ladies rather than dealing with the problem of pedophilia. So am I shocked? No. No. We have gotten too comfortable with the status quo. And that comfort has led to an arrogance that causes far too many people within the United States to poke fun at and laugh and say that other countries are wasting money with how their police force is, how their educational systems are. Really? Maybe stop lying and acting like there's no budget for it, because there's always budget for the military and police. There's always budget for tax relief for the wealthy. And they're always trying to convince you that socialism is bad because we should all be individualized. And you believe it until something happens to somebody who looks like you or somebody that you know personally. Now all of a sudden it's let's come together right now. But I'll see you after this ad in 2 and 2. Y'all know how we do.
Biggest things that Republicans hate about Democrats is the fact that we actually have a long memory. We remember. What they love about the people who vote Republican is that they are easily reprogrammable. But Democrats remember. Buckle up, everybody. We're going back in time to 2019. Right before the presidential election, there was this big scandal that went out that Biden was going to take your hamburgers. Remember? Fox News literally made this its headline for like a fucking month. Iowa voters have beef with non-meat eaters like Booker, Gabbard, and at Iowa State Fair. Sporkfoot, the Hamburglar. No burger for thee, just for me. They made up this ridiculous lie that Democrats and Biden were going to be taking away their hamburgers. Well, wouldn't you fucking know it? Republicans are doing exactly that. They're doing what they accuse the Democrats of. Iowa Republicans are now proposing extreme limits on what food low-income people can buy with SNAP. No white grains, no baked beans, refried beans, or chilies. No fresh meat. That includes hamburgers. No sliced, cubed, or crumbled cheese. The only meats they can buy are canned tuna or canned salmon, high in sodium. I don't want to hear a single Iowa Republican bitching.
See, this new argument over what people should or should not be able to purchase with EBT is baffling to me. These same people were upset when Barack Obama was in office, and as First Lady, Michelle Obama made it her initiative to make sure that at least while at school, children everywhere could get healthy, well-balanced meals because they may not be getting them at home. Argued and fussed about that. They took free lunch away from so many students across the nation. So that means now these parents have to try to scrounge to pack lunches for these students. And on top of that, there are schools that have strict rules about what you can and cannot bring in, even in a packed lunch. So if a parent wanted to meal prep and include lunch in there, some schools will not allow that. If a parent was like, you know what, I can go get an extra large pizza, the kids won't allow that. You're upset that people are eating good and getting snacks with EBT, but then you want to force them to only get the food you just complained that they... I cannot. But, you know, just like they're upset about EBT, there's a certain demographic that is upset because there's going to be a changed theme on one ride at Disney. The anti-blackness of it all. Take a look. Judge for yourself.
So today, here in Orlando, Disney officially shut down Splash Mountain in order to reskin it because its theme is based upon a racist movie, Song of the South, and of course, conservatives are losing it. Y'all, I kid you not, the wait time for this ride today hit over 3 hours. Look at this next clip of the people who came out to support this ride today, a ride that serves as representation for a movie that is racist. No way, y'all, because they was putting little plushies outside of this ride today as if it was going to move over into the afterlife. Like, what? And that's so wild because Splash Mountain, truthfully, isn't really going anywhere. As I said earlier, it's getting reskinned into Tiana's Bayou Adventure, into a movie that doesn't have the isms, into a movie that more children can relate to because it's way more modern, and into a Black Disney princess, like, period. And at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what was wrong with Splash Mountain? Well, the narrative behind the ride was based upon Walt Disney's Song of the South, which was an extremely racist movie. And it also had the popular song Zippity Doo Dah, but now it's Zippity Doo Bye. And I ain't talking about the country. Now to elaborate, Song of the South is a film that takes place in the antebellum South, but it portrays relations between Black and white people at the time as non-problematic. And James Baskett, who plays Uncle Remus, really serves as an Uncle Tom type of character. And what's even more upsetting and alarming with how everything went down, he did end up winning the Academy Award for his performance. He was the first Black man to even win an Academy Award. But then you think about it, he couldn't even attend the premiere of the film due to segregation. Like, what? And even with his success, as you can see here, Black people had been protesting this film way before A Splash Mountain. Not only that, the movie got its last theatrical release in the 80s and it was never put on VHS. And when you think about those two truths, it's absolutely wild that they put out this ride with this theme in 1992. And I've been seeing a lot of people express, well, you know, Walt Disney, he would have never stood for this ride being taken down. And you know what? Y'all might be right. Because what we're not going to do is act as though while Disney was alive, he didn't have a history of racism within his work. A whole character named Jim Crow, the black workers in Dumbo, the Redskins in Peter Pan, the Siamese cats and aristocrats? Baby, please. At the end of the day, Splash Mountain is what? Closed. And I can't wait to throw my hands up and be like, yes, Tiana. Haters, stay mad.
It's always funny that the same people who tell us that there's no more racism or that now all the racism is coming towards black people, towards white people, child, please, want to remind you that a racist is going to be a racist. Like if Walt Disney was, first of all, if Walt Disney was still alive, a smooth breeze would have knocked him over. And we know he would have fought tooth and nail regarding a lot of things. But guess what? He's not alive. And times change. People evolve. If y'all could get used to computers, like the improvements in technology and everything else, why can't you just get used to not being fucking problematic? Like, get as comfortable with anti-racism as you have gotten with your cell phone. Now, one step in the right direction comes from DirecTV. I'm waiting to see who else follows suit because it is about time.
Newsmax got canceled by DirecTV today, and the CEO of Newsmax isn't too happy.
Yeah, well, they got rid of One America. Now they got rid of Newsmax. Only Fox News is left as conservative leaning. And you have 22 liberal channels. Let me give you an example. Vice, which is a far left channel aimed at young millennials, pro Antifa, all of that stuff. They are on all of DirecTV. They have a tiny rating, just 20% of Newsmax's lowest rating. And they get a fee about what we were asking for. So it's a very clear example of political discrimination. That's why we're fighting back. President Trump has called for a boycott of AT&T and DirecTV. Even if you're not a subscriber of DirecTV, he says cancel your cell phones. Don Jr., as you know, just put out a tweet.
We could put that up on the screen, yeah. Right there.
So he's telling people to drop DirecTV and AT&T. They're
Okay, Chris, Rudy, whatever. 1, there is no organization known as Antifa. 2, you conveniently left out that you wanted more money. You got greedy, and DirecTV said, nah. 3, it's called the free market. Maybe you've heard of it. And 4, now you're calling for a boycott and asking people to cancel the DirecTV and AT&T? Sounds like cancel culture. Bye, Newsmax. Go peddle your propaganda elsewhere. Oh, and cry more.
Now, the right, they never protest or boycott properly, like ever, okay? Let's not forget the Carhartt and Nike debacles where they burned up things that they already had and the whole NFL boycott. But Trump has, and all of these places have bled these people dry, have cost these people jobs because of their lies, their misinformation and disinformation. And where do you think in this economy people have the money to pay off a previous cell phone bill and start with a whole new company? And let's not forget, Newsmax is the same one that over the past couple days was quoted as saying that Donald Trump was flying in on Air Force One. See, they don't care what they say to their viewers. They just want to rile their viewers up. All of these for entertainment purposes only news stations. But speaking of Trump, we got some more Trump news. Here we go.
Trump truthed the other day that he won the senior club championship at Trump International Golf Club. Only issue is he didn't play the first round of the tournament because he was at Diamond's funeral giving a eulogy where he admitted that he didn't know who Silk was and complained about missing the tournament. So instead, members showed up the second day of the tournament to see that Trump had just given himself a 5-point lead over everyone else, which he told the tournament organizers he had done because he played a strong round in the course earlier that week. So he just decided to give himself a 5-point lead heading into the second day of the tournament, and then he won. He said it was a great honor to win.
Not only a great honor to win, it was evidence of his fitness for office that he could win golf tournaments.
I got nothing. But let me update you on the whole Paul Pelosi attacker.
Paul Pelosi's attacker, David DePep or DePepe, I don't actually respect him enough to learn how to say his last name, actually called into a San Francisco local news station last night to apologize. Not for what he did, but because he didn't go far enough.
Now that you all have seen the body cam footage, I have an important message for everyone in America. You're welcome. Freedom of liberty isn't dying. It's being killed, systematically and deliberately. The people killing it have names and addresses. So I got their names and addresses so I could pay them a little visit and have a heart-to-heart chat about their bad behavior.
He has absolutely no remorse. And neither does the right for egging this guy on. Before you come at me and say that the right didn't egg this guy on, bullshit. Stochastic terrorism. It's when somebody like Donald Trump gets in front of a crowd or gets on mass media and says, oh boy, Democrats are the enemy. Really wish someone would do something about Democrats. Or after when Mar-a-Lago was raided, he goes and says, oh, the FBI is after all of us. It's after our freedoms. And then all of a sudden, somebody attacks an FBI field office. They make it just general enough to give them plausible deniability. But they know psychopaths are listening and they're gonna take them up.
And each time somebody invokes violence in the name of the right, after the right has riled them up through every method that they can, they will tell you with a straight face, oh, that's the left. That's the left. They were radicalized by the left. Tell me what left-leaning individual has had a manifesto. Tell me what left-leaning individual has walked into a crowded area and decided to just murder people. We'll be waiting forever. Now, by now, you should know that dumb Santos is trying to get courses banned, specifically those regarding anything not white. Well, he's being met with a lawsuit. See you in 2 and 2. You know how we do.
We're here to give notice to Governor DeSantis.
And on Wednesday, the College Board announced that a new reworked version of the course is set to be introduced February 1st. Politicians, faith leaders, and community here today pushing back on the idea of changing, quote, the uncomfortable parts of Black history.
We don't need the course rework. There's been a conglomerate of college academians that have worked to put this course together.
This AP pilot course was rolled out in 2022. The State Department of Education banning the course in all Florida schools January of this year, saying it violates state law, referencing critical race theory and the Stop Woke Act, essentially putting limits on how race can be taught in the classroom.
While the full and accurate historical record might make some uncomfortable, good. That is the point of why we have to teach accurate history. Because when you don't teach history, we're bound to repeat it.
Hence what we're doing right now. We're in repeat, waiting for the rinse, waiting for it to lather up again. But remember the fake electors? Pay close attention to this. See, they're upping the ante from having you take literacy tests, counting jelly beans in a jar, all these different things, answering questions that are relatively impossible to get a correct answer because everything is subjective. To now, white person lose, election stolen. White person lose, let's get new electors. Not the proper way, though. Take a look.
You guys, the fake elector scam. Are you kidding me? This is what's going to land him in jail. Let me tell you why. I got the receipts. First, let's talk about the very stupid plan. Okay, so on the left, you have an actual certificate of vote with the way that the electors actually voted, those electors that were duly elected and certified. And this is in Arizona, 11 votes for Biden. On the right is the fraudulent document that the Trump team made and submitted. Here's the big problem with submitting a document like this. You ready? See, when you put on the document, which they did on all of the fake elector slates, we, the undersigned, being the duly elected and qualified electors, you just committed fraud. And you sent that fraudulent document to the National Archives and to Congress. Here's another example. Real certificate on the left, fake certificate on the right. Looks exactly the same as the Arizona one did, by the way. How stupid is that? Here's where they get in a lot of trouble. Originally, this was supposed to be, supposedly, a contingency plan. Collect the certificates, and just in case one of the state legislatures decertifies because they're pressured by Trump, then they can hand that state legislature this certificate that they can certify. But then they decided somewhere along the road, out of desperation, just give it all to Pence and pressure him to pretend these are the real electors. These ideas were concocted and spread through memoranda written by Kenneth Cheesebro, an attorney, that's his real name, and John Eastman, who you've heard of. And here's what a federal judge had to say about these draft memos. They pushed a strategy that knowingly violated the Electoral Count Act, and that the memo was both intimately related to and clearly advanced the plan to obstruct the joint session of Congress. Here's the problem with that. Whoever corruptly obstructs, influences, or impedes any official proceeding or attempts to do so can be imprisoned up to 20 years. And they actually did submit the fake elector slates to the National Archives and to the legislative branch. You can see in the January 6th report here, which violates this law, conspiracy to make a false statement by submitting a fraudulent document to the government. Here's why this is the best way to go. Other laws require to show intent. Like if he tried to incite an insurrection, you have to show his intent. He doesn't need intent for this. It doesn't matter if he thought there was fraud. He submitted fraudulent documents. His knowing participation in the scheme is sufficient. You've got a paper trail that shows conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to make a false statement, and corruptly attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. So Jack Smith, please.
Lock 'em all up.
This is what happens when you get a collection of people together in government that has no idea how government works, and they really believe that they can outsmart everyone because they can outsmart their constituency, because they've assembled the least educated amongst all of us to become their sycophants. I would say I'm shocked and amazed, but I'm not, because these are the same people that will sit online and listen to the politicians that they support and they vote into office, tell them that the government is failing them. Hello, Susan and Richard. The politicians are a part of the government. Maybe ask them why they're not doing their jobs. As always, before we get to our closing video, make sure you check out all the links in the description of this video, in the comment section. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're on the main account, I did drop the link to the backup account. And if you're on the backup account, then you're already there. So yes, until tomorrow, as always, each one teach one, each one reach one.
I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto, I don't fit the narrative. I'm okay with that. I'm from Baltimore, where you hoop outside and trash talk. If it was a boy, y'all wouldn't be saying anything at all. Let's normalize women showing passion of the game instead of it being embarrassing. Angel Reese put up a 30-piece in the game where she also blocked the shot holding her hand. And you know what she had to respond to after the game? A tale of respectability politics. Shall we run the clip?
Angel Reese was trying to put her shoe on. Blocked it. Look, she's still holding her shoe in her hand.
There were some words exchanged after this play.
She was assessed.
One day we'll have a conversation about how double standards and respectability politics harm black women. Whether we're talking about Sha'Carri Richardson or Angel Reese, it's something about the black women that come from the hood that get put in this ratchet versus respectability binary regardless of how great they is in their performance. Education is elevation.